Hello, everybody. Welcome to my week 3 picks in the NFL, where hopefully I do better than I did last week, where I went 8-8, I believe. I don't even remember what I picked for that Broncos game, but oh, what a game that was. What a end of game penalty decision those refs made in that one. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to jump straight into the game so we can actually hit all of them. We have 16 again this week until we hit bye weeks next week. So the first game we're starting with is the Titans and the Jaguars. And man, I was wrong about the Titans again, wasn't I? I think I just didn't give the Colts enough credit. I think the Titans are a good team, but the Colts have had their number for such a long time. I just underestimated that fact of it. Also, coming off of a big win like Tennessee was, it's kind of more difficult to play up to snuff sometimes. But in this game, I am going to pick Tennessee again. I think having the rookie quarterback's definitely not going to help Jacksonville, but even at the same time, you're dealing with the Jalen Ramsey trade speculation. There's a lot of turmoil in Jacksonville. There's a lot of left and right and a lot of he said, she said stuff going on. So I'm going to take Tennessee in this one in a low-scoring affair, 16-10. We'll keep it close because that Jacksonville quarterback still impressed me last week. Welcome to Let's Get Through This Game as Fast as We Can. It's a weekly edition where we talk about the Dolphins game. Cowboys 45, Dolphins 10. Josh Rosen plays the entire second half. I'm not talking more about this game, sorry. Bills at Bengals. Well, I was kind of right about the Bengals. I just didn't think they'd get whacked in the way that they did last week. They really got a whooping at the hands of the 49ers last week. I think the fact still stands. Without AJ Green, they have a really hard time winning games. And that's going to continue here as this game is in Buffalo and Josh Allen is coming off of a very good performance against the Giants. I'm pretty sure Buffalo and their defense are going to keep rolling. They're going to roll through Cincy. Not as bad as San Francisco did last week, though. Maybe to the tune of 26-13. 26-13. Lions at Eagles. I was wrong about the Eagles too, but maybe I was just wrong about the Falcons. I probably just gave the Eagles a little too much credit, and I was wrong about the Lions even as well. They overcame the odds, fourth quarter comeback, and ended up beating the Chargers last week, which was another one of my 8 incorrect picks last week. But nonetheless, this week I'm going to roll with the Eagles again. I think even with the injuries that they have to the wide receiver position, Carson Wentz is going to find a way to make it work. Even without Malik Jackson, I think they're going to find a way to make it work on defense. Detroit is a very good team, but they're not a great team. I think the Eagles are a great team, and they are like having a loss on their record now. They're going to be looking Dallas in the face. Dallas has had very good games to start off their season. They need to keep pace. They're going to roll. Not really roll, but they're going to beat the Lions in this one. Let's say 24-17. They're going to win by 7. Welcome to the second weekly edition of Let's Get Through This Game as Fast as We Can. This week, it's the New York Jets, because unfortunately, they're down to their third quarterback. And they're going to get whooped because they're playing the Patriots, who are now coming off of a 43-point game against the Dolphins. I don't think they score that many points. I think the Jets defense has a little bit more pride than that. I think the Patriots are going to score 31-35. Let's give them the over. Let's say 35. So they're going to win this game 35-13. I think that they'll get one score off of Le'Veon Bell and maybe a field goal or two. Falcons at Colts. I'm really intrigued with this game, actually, especially given how Matt Ryan bounced back from the Minnesota game. The Colts are rolling. The Colts are playing really good football, and now the Falcons are too. The Falcons have a lot of momentum going into playing a dome. I'm going to take the Falcons. I feel bad for Colts fans. I don't think I've taken the Colts once this year. It's not the Colts. It's the teams they're playing. I like the Colts. I think this might actually even be an overtime game. I'm going to take the Falcons 17-14. I think the defenses are going to kind of batter each other around and keep this one tight through most of it. Raiders at Vikings. While the Raiders surprised us in week 1, they did not surprise us in week 2, and they gave up 21 points very quickly to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Minnesota Vikings are not the Kansas City Chiefs. And that game on Sunday was evidence of that. Kirk Cousins has a lot of issues, and the Vikings themselves have a lot of issues. Early on defense, they had a lot of struggles and they had a lot of breakdowns. I don't think that happens this week. I think they get right back on the train. It's going to be just like week 1. Let's do 28-14. Oakland's going to get a couple scores late, but Minnesota's going to dominate this one most of the way through. My game of the week this week, Ravens at Chiefs. How about Lamar Jackson? He had a couple throws where he was airmailing it, and I was saying to myself, oh, that's Lamar Jackson. That's the Lamar Jackson we all know and I don't like because he's the Ravens quarterback. But he's had a very good season, and so has Patrick Mahomes. I think being in Kansas City doesn't help. And I think with the Ravens going against a team that can outscore them does not help either. I'm going to take Kansas City in this one, 35-31. Close game throughout. Kind of like it's going to be kind of like that Chiefs-Rams game from last year. Just it'll be slower pace because the Ravens do run the ball so much. But the Ravens also left a lot of openings for the Cardinals last week, and the Chiefs are a much better team than the Cardinals. I think the Chiefs are going to be able to exploit those holes and rip it open for some big games. So 35-31 Chiefs. Broncos at Packers. Well, I was wrong about the Packers last week. They looked fantastic in that first couple drives against the Minnesota Vikings defense. I think they're going to repeat it. So let's pick the Green Bay Packers in this game. Denver got the short end of the stick on that roughing the passer call last week. They probably should have won the game. They played well enough to win the game, especially at the end. Their defense really hung in tight, but their offense needs to give them more earlier in the game, and that's kind of been Joe Flacco's problem for a lot of his career, but he's always had good defenses. I don't think that helps him here, though, so I'm going to say 27-20. The Green Bay Packers are going to win this one, and they are also at home, which helps. Panthers at Cardinals. I don't really know. So before Cam Newton had all this foot problem stuff going on, and I'm recording this on a Tuesday, so as of right now, he's not out yet. It just really seems like he's going to be out. I think regardless, the Arizona Cardinals are going to win this game. I see a lot of parallels in how these games are going. As far as like the Browns from last year, where they tied the first game, lost the second game, very close. They were in it the whole way. And then they win the third game, which is what I think is going to happen to this team. But I think that they have an offensive identity a lot faster than the Browns did last year. I think that they're going to roll through this game, actually. I think it's going to be a case where the Cardinals are going to jump on them early, and then the Panthers are going to get back in and get really close, and the Cardinals are going to win it at the end of the game. Not very high scoring, though. Let's say 23-17 will be the final in this one. Cardinals will get a defensive stop at the end of the fourth quarter to put the game away. Giants at Buccaneers. Daniel Jones getting his first start in the NFL, and this is not a good team for him to do it against, especially with the kind of game Shaq Barrett had and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had as a unit. I'm kind of scared for the health of Daniel Jones here in this game. I don't see things going pretty for him. I don't see things going well for him. Being in Tampa is certainly not going to help. I think Tampa Bay is going to put up 35 points on this Giants defense, and I think Daniel Jones is going to muster 20 points, so 35-20, but it's going to be slim pickings for the young man in this game. Saints at Seahawks. We were kind of robbed of a great game in this one, I think. The Seahawks, coming off of a win against the Steelers, looked very good. As they do. Russell Wilson, 300 yards passing, overcame some of the struggles Chris Carson had. But the Saints are going to be in a little bit of trouble for the next few weeks. This is not a great game for them to have their first start not having Drew Brees. So I think Seattle's going to roll, and they're going to win this one 31-17. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be one of those boring games that Seattle just kind of dominates all the way through. Texans at Chargers. I'm taking the Houston Texans in this one. I am done doubting Deshaun Watson. I am a believer in him now. Now that Jalen Ramsey is not going to be following DeAndre Hopkins, he should be open a little bit more, should have a little bit of a better game. The Chargers defense is missing too many pieces right now. Phillip Rivers can't bail them out, and Austin Eckler certainly can't bail them out. That was evidenced last week in Detroit. I don't think the home field advantage really helps Los Angeles that much either. So I think that Houston's going to come in. They're going to assert dominance. They're going to roll through three quarters, and then it will slow down, and Deshaun Watson will put it away late in the game. So let's say 28-17 in this one. Steelers at 49ers. Mason Rudolph's first start in the NFL after the tragic news of Ben Roethlisberger being out for the season, which you never like to see. I'm hoping for a speedy recovery for him. Hope he can come back next year, just like Jake Delhomme did with the elbow injury, better than ever. But now we have Mason Rudolph, who actually played very well against Seattle on the road in the face of adversity. And I'm actually going to take the Steelers in this one. I know I said last week, I'm done doubting Jimmy Garoppolo. I think the Steelers are going to have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, though. I think a lot of people, if you look around, like a lot of people in the media are kind of already saying their season is over. I think Mason Rudolph is actually a better quarterback than a lot of people are giving him credit for. I don't trust that San Francisco defense. You beat up on Jameis Winston in week 1 and the Bengals in week 2. It's going to come down to, can Jimmy Garoppolo face the blitzes he's going to see and the disguises and coverage he's going to see from the Steelers, especially adding Minkah Fitzpatrick to that defense. It's certainly not going to be easy. I'm going to take the Steelers in this one in a very close game. It's going to be a very, very close game to the tune of 20-17. Everybody's scoring 17 points, I guess, this week. I'm going to have to mix that up. Sunday Night Football, Rams at Browns. Well, I was wrong about the Browns again, too. They didn't look great, but a win is a win. 20-point win on a team that they should have beaten. Same thing with the Rams. The Rams were struggling through most of that game against the Saints, and then it just all clicked for them, and they were off like an offensive juggernaut. Game is in Cleveland, which helps Cleveland a lot. They've already had a reality check. I'm of course on the Browns bandwagon. I'm a fan, but I'm not jumping on the bandwagon for this game. The Rams are a really good team, and I think the Rams, with the experience of being in primetime and in playoffs type situations, I think the Rams are going to hold off the Browns' late rally in this one. It's going to be a fun game, I am predicting, but I am going to be taking the Rams in this one 23-21 in a close one. Monday Night Football, Bears at Redskins. Let's take the Chicago Bears as they roll above the 500 mark for the season. The Redskins still are impressing me. Case Keenum is doing really well with that team. He's keeping them in games through good portions of games. I know Dallas really just whooped on him, but I don't think that was Case Keenum's fault, honestly. The Bears are going to start finding their footing. The Redskins are the kind of team that they can start to identify an offensive identity against, especially on a Monday Night Football stage. Unfortunately, Monday Night Football has kind of been a cesspool for bad games, which is why that Texans-Saints game in week 1 was so awesome. But for the rest of the way, we're probably not going to get very many great games. I think that this one's going to be a snoozer. It's going to be Chicago 27, Washington 10 in this one. So that wraps up the picks for week 3. The record so far, I believe, is 20-12 because we went 8-8. So it was 12-4 and then 8-8. So we're 20-12. Still above 500. Still looking good. If you want to discuss any of the picks I made or have any other topics you'd like to discuss, hit my Twitter over here. And we'll catch you next week for the next installment of my picks. Thank you very much for watching.